You are listening to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. This show is dedicated to those who live and love from the heart in infinite ways. In today's episode, we will discuss, share, gain insights, and get clarity on the wisdom and teachings of the mystic and seer Almin, as well as discover more about the miraculous healing modality called Belvaspata. Your host for this show is Paul.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul, and hosting you tonight on Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. On our sound desk outside the studio is Nico, making sure that everything is working well. Thank you for joining us today on this wonderful edition and episode of Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. Our title tonight is The Game of Removing Illusion, which is also much the same as the subject matter of the upcoming webinar on this weekend, given by the seer Almin. So, the author and healer, Lisa Royale, tells us, it is not your responsibility to force humanity to change or process its own darkness. That would be a distraction from your own individual healing. The only thing you can do as an individual is to be responsible for yourself, to act with integrity in all matters and heal yourself. Therein lies one of the most significant services you can provide for the planet as a whole. Isn't that just so incredibly deep and pertinent, I think, for the moment? I'm finding so much processes going around us, so much distraction, so much of issues and people in my environment that are literally, I'm just discovering it's like an attempt to distract me from my journey and the process forward and being happy. And so I'm working really hard at this moment and just allowing myself to have a heart that is singing and open, trusting the universe and just trusting everything that goes along with that. And for me, that's more than enough at this moment in time. But I thought, well, if I'm experiencing it, and I know with conversations with Nico and some of our other team, we're all experiencing similar processes. So it's obviously a phase and an experience that we're all working through. And I was just saying this morning to the group here that, there's something we have to learn in each moment, and we need to understand what that lesson is and learn it for ourselves. And that would be individual for ourselves in terms of our own understanding and perception. A question was once posed to Almin, and the question was, what do we do with the love we feel for those we have had to shed from our lives because they choose not to live in integrity, or who have shed us because they cannot stand being around such light? And the answer that Almin gave, she says, if you take a look at the merciful laws which have come into place since August 2006, both materially and energetically, we no longer need to be in the spaces of these individuals. In fact, we shouldn't be, in order to give the highest form of compassion. Yet, now opposite love, which is frequency, and light are attracting. So loving them from a distance is far more effective. It goes straight to where it is needed, more so than actually being physically present, which actually creates an irritated feeling in them that wants to repel us. If we are not in their presence, our love can be around them, and the minute they are ready for it, they can access it for themselves. This is how the highest form of compassion between those of opposite energy and matter processes and occurs. And the next question that was given to her, it says, is it selfishness or highest wisdom to help yourself before helping others? The seer answers, the highest service we can render to mankind is our ability to be happy. All of humankind is connected, not only to one another, but to all creatures through unified fields. The greater gifts we give to others are not through what we do, but by how and what we are. Through our attitudes and feelings, we can beneficially affect the interconnectedness of all life. Deeds affect but a few. That is why it has been said that 5 seconds of unconditional love is worth more than providing 1,000 bowls of food for the hungry. Almin explains that a child acts first from the position of asking for what he or she needs, fulfilling their own needs first, and then they give love unconditionally. It is only when they are older that social conditioning programs them to think that fulfilling their own needs first is selfish. It is also then that giving to others becomes more calculated, more withholding, and less spontaneous. What makes the difference? Well, the child, having asked for his or her needs first, it's given from a place of fullness. If he does not have what he needs, the child will make quite sure his displeasure is honestly expressed. The adult or adolescent, on the other hand, having been conditioned to abandon his own needs in favor of another, pushes them to the background. From this imbalanced self-abandonment, hollow gifts are given. The human psyche consists of subpersonalities, which is the inner child, the inner nurturer, the inner sage, and the inner warrior. The biggest impediment to spiritual growth is when a truth seeker becomes so overly focused on growth that the inner family is neglected. When their needs are not met, personal agendas can taint the purity of the master at the exact moment that he or she is ready to make the leap to freedom from ego identification. Nothing keeps us in identity consciousness longer than the unmet needs of the inner child. The need for approval and attention due to years of abandonment will create neediness where there should be surrender, popular belief systems that find approval from others, where there should be a courageous expansion of mortal boundaries. It is through our hearts that we are connected to Source. It is therefore through the promptings of our heart that we are guided into our highest whisperings and our highest truth. A relationship of trust needs always to be established. One cannot on one hand deny its desires as unworthy while on the other seek their counsel. Philosophers and sages alike have through the ages said that the world around us is our mirror. To quote Shakespeare, "I, your looking glass shall be, and will reveal to you things you yourself know not of." If we therefore wish to manifest a life of fulfillment, befitting all we are associated with, the fulfillment must begin within. It is our highest calling to be true to ourselves, to follow a path of the heart even if we follow it alone. For one cannot be alone if one is at home for oneself. To forfeit the approval of another, but gain the empowerment of self, is a small price to pay. We're now going to listen to an old class, it's a long audio entitled Man as the Microcosm of the Macrocosm by the Siya Almin, and it's hosted by her, in which she answers the questions of her light family from all around the world. She talks about why does man play such an important role in the cosmic ascension? What does it mean to be the microcosm of the macrocosm? To understand this, the Siya Almin explains the pyramid of knowledge and how it has recently changed. This information can totally change your perspective on the role of humankind and your own life. In the second part of this audio, Almin will talk about the gifts that were lost by humanity as it descended into forgetfulness in order to become the analytical pivot point. At the end of the audio, she touches upon mind at rest and the building blocks of life. She discusses the concepts of the divine architect and the creational codes of the earth. So enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side of this incredible class by the Siya Almin.
We wanted to understand why man is such an important key to turning the ascension of the cosmos that represents all life within him as an archetype, or a microcosm, if you will, of the macrocosm. My brothers and sisters, I have on a few occasions pointed out, and you can find this in civilization before. The most incredible thing has happened. We used to work with the cosmic life, relationships within the cosmos. We still do, but it has become the minority. In the last weeks of work that we have done, my brothers and sisters, starting with the Irish class that was in Dublin, and the next one is in November, we have its currency, is telling the secret of the capstone of knowledge in terms of accessing power to reveal perfection. To understand, first of all, where it gets its power from, from now till the next break, that's what we'll discuss a bit, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how it works and what it takes. It is, perhaps a little reversed way to go about it, but let's do it anyway. You see, outside of the cosmos, what is there? This is the profundity of last week. Because what was there is in fact no longer there. When one is asleep, you go through what's called the different REM states, REM. It stands for rapid eye movement. And it's the way that scientists have sort of studied sleep and been able to say that the depth of your dreaming changes. The dream that has been dreamed by the infinite, 50% mother, 50% father, God, goddess, has gone through depths of dreaming. When you read the book, The Gift of the Unicorns, the second half, which is the history of the cycles, but you cannot believe where we came from in terms of the depths of the dissension that we as a cosmos, and specifically with the earth leading the way, have gone through. That is the deepest dreams we've had. As the ascension takes place each time, we've gone from dream to dream to dream, but going into less and less depths, so that at some point the infinite will in fact wake up. To create this dream, within
And welcome back to the studio. There we were listening to the Sia Almin's class from several years ago. She talks about the dream within the dream of the infinite. We are just apologizing for the sound quality of tonight's show, but today has been quite a I can't even say it, a technological issue which we've had to deal with consistently, but at least we got the show up and running, and we hope that you have really taken something from it, even if it's just one or two bits of wisdom from Almin herself. You'll know that from this particular class that perhaps we're angling towards the latest teachings from the Tablets of Fire. And as that retreat in Moscow takes place and happens, so much more information is coming out, and we'll detail all of that really next week, and how we've been awakening from the dream and re-entering another reality altogether, and going beyond the illusory state of being that we've been situated within this dream, within the dream of the infinite. So you can see even the teachings how many years back are so relevant today, is that we're actually at this point, because there Almin was talking about at some point we will literally wake up and have this experience. And yet now in this very month, October and November, we are now actually going into that reality and bringing it into being. So there's a free webinar coming up, and Team Almin are happy to invite us all to take part in this free online event for their worldwide light family. It's called Leaving the Illusory Reality of Humanity to Enter the True Reality. And it'll take place on Saturday, November the 4th, which is, just 2 days away from us. Various time frames for us, depending where we live in the world. But you can find out about this in Almin Diary. But the topic is leaving the illusory reality of humanity to enter the true reality, which means we are now entering into another state of being. It includes how we're going to leave the illusory reality matrix, which is the human dream, how to create a new personal reality for ourselves, how to become real and true and as we go beyond the human dream, as we live from a state of inner space, expressing it outwardly in outer space, and then what's called I am my vast self, where we dissolve any illusion in the state of beingness and we go into full states of expansion. Very, very exciting. Facilitated by Ella Jelinek of Spiritual Journeys, hosting in Russia and working through the teachings of this year. I mean, I just cannot wait for that. I think it'll be so incredibly exciting just to understand that we've moved from the state of practice and theory into a complete state of new realities. And as masters of the world, as masters of the universe, as the microcosm of the macrocosm, we are now holding all of that firmly in our hands, in our approach, and let's deal with that bit by bit. But so again, apologies for any technical issues or sound qualities, but we didn't want to let everybody down by just cancelling the show. Even in the last second, we had our Wi-Fi go down, and that made us run, a few minutes late as well. But there we go. Hope you got something from it, a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of time with us, a little time with the Light family around the world. We're going to play out now with the music of Almeen. Beautiful music. I love this bit. Really, it just highlights, I think, the state of humanity at the moment. It's from Desert Storm, her first teachings of Saradesi. And Saradesi was all about movement and stillness. And I'm enjoying watching things rise up and things slow down, and everything has its own particular process and ebb and flow. So we're going to play out with that, and then our closing track. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next week, where we will be discussing entering this fourth and fifth reality away from the human dream. And such an exciting week is lying ahead for us internally and externally. Let's live it to the fullest with creative enthusiasm, as per today's mantra. And we'll see you online, Radio Bell Hospital, South Africa. Thank you to Nico for trying so hard to do what he needed to do tonight. Amazing how we have the Bush Telegraph ability still, and yet we still got technology some days. From me, Paul, your host on Radio Bell Hospital, South Africa, it's good night.
You've been listening to Radio Belvaspita, South Africa. Thank you for listening and sharing in our discussion. Should you have any questions with regards to the healing modality of Belvaspita or have any healing needs, please send us an email to info@belvaspita.co.za or add comments to our page on Spreaker.com so we can work on providing a suitable response. We now close this episode with the eternal ascension qualities of love, praise, gratitude and trust, and look forward to sharing again with you next week. Goodbye.